Welcome to Politics as Usual at usualpolitics.com. I'm your host, Dr. Moriel McDuffy and Senator McDuffy. And we come to talk to you today about why you should vote. Okay? And since I know it's been crazy because I know sometimes we hear about people who say, "Oh, I'm not voting, it doesn't do anything, my vote doesn't count." So what are you hearing out there and what do you suggest to those people?
I'm hearing a lot of the same stuff, about, they're not voting, the system is rigged anyway, even if they vote, that their vote doesn't count. And a lot of what I hear that, primarily, when I go into these barbershops or, hanging around just different groups. And unfortunately enough, a lot of that rhetoric, a lot of that talk comes from people who look like me. I'm in a particular age group, young black men, and a lot of that talk about not voting and the reasons why they're not voting it's disheartening to hear that. But again, we often hear that in our communities.
Yeah.
And it's not us just hearing it. The statistics line up with that as well. We talk about a lot of young black men not coming out to vote. And a lot of what we're hearing is, hey, well, it's not going to make a difference. The system is rigged. Then everybody wants to get into the whole electoral college argument. Hey, well, our vote doesn't matter. Electoral votes go differently. So again, it's primarily for me what I'm hearing, whether if it's professionally or even personally in my personal life. A lot of what I'm hearing is a lot of young black men who look like me, who are in the same age bracket as myself, are the ones who are generally speaking about not voting because it's a waste of time.
Okay, and it's interesting because in the 2016 election, it was primarily millennials, and a lot of them were young black males and within that group. And I get it, man. Listen, this is not, I'm hearing the same thing from young black males as well in the barbershops and things of that nature. You hear, "Oh yeah, I'm not voting," and we're gonna go through some reasons why you should vote. And listen, at the end of the day, right? You can say your vote doesn't count. The electoral college does take away from some of the votes. However, voting is highly important. Highly, highly, highly important. And if you don't vote, then you're going to have an issue. So reason number 1 and 2 kind of go together of why you should vote. Are you cool with potentially losing Medicare, Medicaid? And number 2, are you cool with losing potentially Social Security? And if, Social Security and Medicaid, if we really look at it, right? And this is something that the Republican Party has loved over the years. And they've constantly wanted to get rid of Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security, right? These are things that came around not long after the Great Depression. And, these social safety net programs are there, and we pay into those. We pay taxes. So I don't know why people love politicians that say, "Hey, we're going to get rid of Medicare, Medicaid, we're going to privatize it, we're going to do this." It's our money. It's the money that we put into it. So I always say, hey, if you're going to get rid of it, you need to give me my money back that I paid into it, because this is what I paid for. I didn't pay for you to privatize it. I didn't pay for you to get rid of it. So if you're cool, or are you cool with that? If you're not, then you may want to vote. And if you're cool with it, vote.
And I think one of the most egregious parts of the whole Medicaid discussion and the Medicaid, fight, you have politicians who refer to Medicaid and Medicare as an entitlement. This is not an entitlement of any kind. These are things that we pay into from the time you start working. You can look on your paycheck and it says, it's all your taxes, your Medicaid, your Medicares. These are things that we pay into from the time we start working. So again, for anybody to call this an entitlement and say, hey, you know what, they want to privatize it, and I don't think a lot of people quite understand what privatizing Medicare and Medicaid is. Essentially, it's putting it on the stock market, and really to break that down on the lowest level, it's almost like rolling dice with our Medicare and our Medicaid by putting it on the stock market and saying, hey, let's play this game and see which way it's going to go. If this going to go up, the stock going to go down. That's not where I want to put my tax money. That's why it's important for me to vote. I'm not paying for politicians to roll dice with my Medicare and Medicaid. I mean, these are all programs that every elderly person is going to need at some point in their life. Every young person may need, maybe potentially at some point in their life. And again, this is not something that you want to just throw on the stock market and have a dice game with, or have some type of a stock market game. So again, all important reasons for people like me to go vote. I don't say, hey, here's my tax money to go put this on the stock market.
Absolutely. And so I think we pretty much said it all for those. So let's get to another reason: immigration. And when I say immigration, I'm not talking about an argument of whether you agree with how we allow people to immigrate, or if you just want to let people in or not let people in. I'm talking about treating people humanely. Are we cool with them putting people and kids in cages? Right now, there's still kids in cages, even though the Supreme Court ruled that they had to be let out, and there's people who are catching COVID-19. So I'm not with any type of inhumane treatment. Whether there's laws and rules that govern that I agree with or disagree with, the part of immigration I'm referring to and I'm talking about really is let's treat people humanely. Whether they've come here illegally or legally or whatever, treat them humanely. We should not have kids in cages. We should not have people in cages, especially during COVID-19. You have to find a better way. And really, honestly, if we're cool with another 4 years of this, to me, it's just wrong, period.
And when you get into, immigration, it's really cut and dry. Inhumane treatment of families and kids. I would just like for everybody to put their selves in the place of these families who have the kids in cages. Imagine if these were your kids. Nobody would like for their kids to be treated like that in such a manner where they're in cages, they're catching COVID-19. One kid, was on the news, made big headlines. He had lice once his mom came to get him. So again, really, this is just about being humane. Put yourself in these families' shoes. If you're in a foreign land, heaven forbid something happened to America and we had to go run to Mexico or Canada. And can you imagine being treated, how we're treating these immigrant families? So again, all important reasons, for individuals to vote. And again, it's a question to ask yourself: is this treatment acceptable? Put yourself in those circumstances and ask yourself, hey, this is how I want my kids to be treated. Something happened to America and we had to escape to another land.
Absolutely. So let's move on to the rule of law. So the rule of law is something that Trump has talked about a lot during his campaign. He's looked at the protests, and most of which have been peaceful, but there has been looting, there has been rioting, which is wrong, and he's used that as a platform. And he talked about the rule of law and what he'll do if he's president. Well, I got news for you. He is president right now, and all these things are happening with him as president. So anybody that believes that Trump has the answers, why hasn't he already done that? Provided the answers already. Trump did, and so this is just another reason to vote, because it's just another lie. It's just like the COVID lie, where said he didn't know about COVID. He absolutely knew about COVID early. And what this says is, I have the answers, me and me alone. No, we're in Trump America. If you notice, the president roots for white nationalist groups like Proud Boys, like Boogaloo. He roots for the KKK. And he said things that show that. These are good peoples. In 2017, he said about the KKK march in Virginia. And I got to tell you, when you do that, you cause more problems. So if you want to know why there's more protests, obviously the match is the shootings of unarmed black men, but he just fans the flames. And he encourages white nationalist groups to show up with guns. So if you're okay with white nationalist groups showing up the guns to protest, if you're okay with somebody maybe even attacking your right to protest as an American, and this goes beyond just whether you agree with the Black Lives Matter movement or not, are you okay with somebody attacking that right? The Kyle Rittenhouse shooting in Kenosha, are you okay with police just kind of buddying with these militia groups? And are you okay with them chasing down BLM protesters but walking by Kyle Rittenhouse after he shot 3 people and killed 2 of them?